Hey everyone, Felix from Nintendo Life here, and today we're here to look at the very best cheap games on the Nintendo Switch. Now, there were a few factors that played into what games we could select. 1, the game cannot cost more than $15. 2, we must have gifted more than a 9 out of 10 on our website. And 3, on our website, you can rate any game from 1 to 10, so it must on average have gotten a higher than 7 out of 10. There's gonna be over 20 plus games on this list, and we're gonna start off with the most expensive ones, starting at $15, going all the way down to, well, you'll just have to watch the video to see how low the price goes. And also, this list was originally written by Gavin and the rest of the Nintendo Life staff over on nintendolife.com and has been adapted into this video by me. So without further ado, why don't we just jump right into it. And starting off, coming right out of the gates, it's Pocket Card Jockey Ride-On, which normally sits at $15, but has been down as low as $10. This game does not come to Switch with a swathe of bells and whistles, or make a host of changes to Game Freak's weirdest mashup. It's a simple port of the Apple Arcade version, which in itself made very few changes to the 3DS original. But with a game this great, that's not a bad thing. Sure, not much has changed since 2016, even less since 2023, but this charming hybrid kart racer is absolutely worth taking for a ride whenever you can. And following that up, we have Hollow Knight, normally sitting at $15, but has been down as low as $6.98. Hollow Knight feels like it found its natural home on Switch. The game's beautiful 2D world, tactile combat, and impressive bevy of secrets constantly track you in for more, and it proves to be as strong as an experience on the move as it is on your TV. On an eShop that's already filled with top-quality indie games, Hollow Knight is one of the very best. A big, beautiful, foreboding Metroidvania that's absolutely thick with detail. From its punchy combat system to its charming art and sound design, this is one of the finest adventures you can have on Nintendo Switch. And then we have Balatro, which is 1 cent cheaper than the previous games, sitting at $14.99, but has been down as low as $12.74. Also, the background music, which you've been hearing since the start of this video, is from this game, and it's bloody brilliant. Balatro is a roguelike for gamers who don't like roguelikes, and then everybody else on top of that. It utterly nails what it sets out to do, providing an instantly accessible, satisfying, and addictive gameplay loop that anybody can grasp. It's an immensely enjoyable experience from the start, but as you get deeper in, there's really nothing else quite like it. It's utterly sublime. And then we have Undertale, which sits at the same price, $14.99, but has been down as low as $8.99. It is difficult to talk about Undertale and still be taken seriously at the end of it. If the term RPG sends a shiver down your spine, but you remain interested in the genre nonetheless, then this could be the one for you. The game borrows all of the tried and tested tropes of the genre before dialing it up to an 11 on the weirdness scale with some excellent writing, a fantastic combat system, and a series of different ways the story can go. This isn't all sword waving and stabbing, there's a lot more to Undertale than meets the eye. And then we have Into the Breach, also sitting at $14.99 normally, but has been down to $7.49. Into the Breach is a brutal, uncompressing game of making hard choices and living with your mistakes, but the short length of battles and endless variety of playthroughs makes for an extremely addictive experience. Though the graphics are nothing special, the gameplay is some of the very best you'll find in the strategy genre on Switch, and we can easily recommend this to anyone who's looking for an in-depth game that'll make you think. Into the Breach feels right at home on Switch, and whether you play more at home or on the go, you're more than likely to get plenty of value out of this release. Stardew Valley is another game sitting at $14.99 and has, as Into the Breach, been down to as low as $7.49. Stardew Valley offers its players a chance to live a second life, one where you can forget the troubles of the real world and get excited over finding a particularly rare carrot. It is a truly magical experience. Games can often be enjoyable, but they don't all manage to be as captivating as this. This is the sort of game that ideally requires a significant amount of time to be invested. The enjoyment doesn't necessarily come from the day-to-day actions you perform, but rather from the growth of pride, satisfaction, and sense of security as the days go by. Fans of games such as Harvest Moon and Animal Crossing will be right at home here, and for those who aren't, there's a decent chance that this game might just surprise you. And we keep rolling on with games sitting at $14.99 being Everhood, but this one has been down to as low as $5.99. Everhood is one of the most memorable games we've played in recent years. A mad mix of RPG, rhythm action, kart racing, and bullet hell shmup. Its utterly bonkers plot and weird cast of characters is reason enough to check it out. But the instantly accessible rhythmic combat will keep you hooked from the very first battle to the epic final boss encounter. Some may be put off by the minimal visual design and the deliberately vague sequences of events, but for those after something a bit different, Everhood delivers originality and unique gameplay in spades and absolutely deserves a place in your Switch library. Gorogoa is another game sitting at $14.99, and this one has been down to as low as $4.49. The Switch's eShop is saturated with buckloads of high-quality content. This is great in one way, of course, but stumbling across hidden gems within it will get tougher as time goes on. Gorogoa is one such gem, a puzzle game quite unlike any other that deserves your attention. It is a little on the short side, but the creativity that has been put into its design and the effect it will have on you during your time exploring its gorgeous world is something that you'll want to experience. If you're looking for something new to try, this would be an excellent choice. And then we have The Walking Dead, the complete first season, normally sitting at $14.99, but has been down as low as $3.74. Whether you played this game back in 2012 or are completely new to the series, Telltale's The Walking Dead Season 1 is a masterpiece of video game storytelling. It features some of the very best voiceover performances you'll find in any game platform and sets the stage for a grand multi-season odyssey of tragic proportions. However, this is also a satisfying and poignant collection if you never play the subsequent episodes. Even if you've lost patience with Rick Grimes and the TV series adaptation of Robert Kirkman's comic books, this remains an incredible interactive adaptation of Kirkman's World of Walkers. Coming up, we have Golf Story, sitting normally at $14.99 but has been down as low as $2.84. Golf Story is a Switch exclusive RPG that borrows liberally from Mario Golf on the Game Boy Color. It's absolutely bonkers, and you should be prepared to put your golf skills to use in a variety of contexts, including feeding hungry alligators and knocking things off high surfaces, plus winning the occasional round of pitch and putt. With a hilarious script and a wide variety of activities, it remains fresh throughout and will have you coming back for many hours in the story mode alone. Golf Story is for anyone looking for something a little bit different. There's a whole lot to love here, and if you're a fan of RPGs or golf games, this is a must-buy. And then we have Horus, which normally sits at $14.99, but has been down as low as $2.09. Horus is something very special. If you have any interest in superb level design, excellent storytelling, terrific art, evocative music, great characters, hilarious situations, and emotional gut punches, it's a no-brainer. It's moving without being manipulative, clever without being smug, and nostalgic without being a lazy rehash. It's a platformer, but it's so much more than that. So yes, Horus is another indie masterpiece, and every gamer who enjoys quality experiences should play it. A masterpiece that owes so much to its medium, but has the strength, creativity, and identity to stand alone as something very, very special. Following that up, we have Far Lone Sails, sitting at $14.99 and has been down to as low as $2.09. Without saying a word, Far Lone Sails conveys a poignant tale of hope and perseverance, masterfully balancing the style with substance for an experience that feels every bit as sublime as it looks. Sure, you could grumble about its relative shortness, the occasional obtuse puzzles, and the very, very minor control issues, but these problems dissolve away once you're invested in the journey. We highly recommend that you give this a spin, and the sequel is an equally fine time too. Next in line, we have Rogue Legacy, sitting normally on the eShop at $14.99 and has been down to as low as $2.02. If you were to take something that makes a good roguelike title, interesting level design, worthwhile replay loops, strong combat system, and mix it up with some writing which is big on laughs, then you might just end up with something like Rogue Legacy, or its successor, Rogue Legacy 2, though that's a bit too expensive for this list. This is a game that's well aware of its genre fans and what makes them tick, combining the high points of Castlevania, Dead Cells, and the long line of 2D side-scrolling roguelike adventures. Rogue Legacy is strong enough to stand among the best of them. And as the final game on the list, sitting at $14.99, we have Dicey Dungeons. You already got the Switch eShop price normally, but it has been down to as low as $1.99. Dicey Dungeons is easily one of the best roguelike titles you can play on Switch. Loads of gameplay variety, fantastic music, a high skill ceiling, and friendly visuals make this a thoroughly gripping and fun experience you won't want to miss out on. If you like roguelikes or card games, we'd highly recommend you pick this one up as soon as you can. And finally, out of the $14.99 games, we have Quake, sitting at $9.99 and has been down to as low as $3.29. Quake returns in a feature-rich remaster that delicately updates the classic FPS, adding lots of optional bells and whistles, packing in a ton of content, and delivering the definitive way to play this masterpiece in the process. There's a wealth of online and co-op options here, a glorious new expansion to blast through for machine games, super slick performance in both docked and handheld modes, and it's all available at a cracking price point. This really is a stellar port of one of gaming's true greats, and an absolute essential addition to your Switch library. Also, Quake 2 is similarly epic and cheap. And flying gently onto the list, we have A Short Hike, sitting normally at $7.99 and has been down to as low as $4.79. A Short Hike is a fat-free experience from top to bottom, or should we say bottom to top. It's the kind of game that just makes us sigh with happiness when we recall our time with it, and even having played it through its conclusion multiple times, we know for a fact there's still things to see and do on that mountain. What we have here is something of an apotheosis, a milestone in indie games, the very best bits of multiple game genres, stripped of all padding and bloat, mixed perfectly into delicious video game stew that only gets richer and richer the more you play. A landmark for all ages. Don't miss this one. Sega Ages Outrun is another cheap game sitting normally at $7.99 and has been down to as low as $1.99. If you originally missed out on the 3DS port, this is about as essential a retro release as you can get. Outrun has always been an infinitely playable game, and the new unlockables and online rankings only increase its longevity further. Those with the 3DS version will have to decide whether it's worth buying what's more or less the same game again in order to play it on their TV. But for everyone else with an interest in retro gaming, it's a must-have. And if you like this, you'll probably love M2's masterful port of Virtua Racing 2. And next in line, we have Subsurface Circular, sitting normally on the eShop at $5.99, but has been seen for as low as $2.99 with the right sale. Subsurface Circular is a landmark moment in interactive storytelling. The elegance in its escalation is simply unmatched, as it tells a story that makes you feel like you're in completely over your head, and yet still perfectly believable. The characters you meet along the way all feel unique with their own personality, which makes interacting with them a test of wit and cunning as you use the conversational mechanics to their full effect. There's nothing else quite like Subsurface Circular, and when that uniqueness is combined with the phenomenal narrative at hand, you have all the ingredients for a simply unforgettable and very special journey aboard the subway. The games of course keep getting cheaper and cheaper, and this next one only costs $5.99 on the eShop normally. It's Florence, which has with the sale also been down to as low as $1.99. Florence is an evocation of the beauty, sadness, and hope that comes from any human connection we make in our lives, whether with art, nature, or another person. It's a succinct and incredibly successful exploration of moments you'll recognize from your own life, and the way it mirrors thoughts and feelings through small gameplay mechanics makes it one of the most affecting experiences we've enjoyed on Switch or on any platform. And then we have Vampire Survivors, which can be bought for the cheap price of $5.99 on the eShop and has been down to as low as $3.99. Vampire Survivors skyrocketed in popularity in 2022 for good reason. It's one of the best roguelites in recent memory thanks to its gripping gameplay loop and metagame that hijacks your mind. The Switch port only adds more love with local co-op and updated content. It's so easy to slip into a blissful sense of flow in Vampire Survivors' Castlevania-inspired comically named levels as its ripping soundtrack and satisfying sound design propel you into the horde that you'll surely lose track of time playing it. It's a good thing that rounds don't usually last more than half an hour. With the addition of free adventures and a host of DLC, including the excellent Ode to Castlevania, this undead master is teeming with life. And following that up, we have Lunistis, which normally sits on the eShop at $4.99, but has been down to as low as $3.74. Lunistis takes us back to the joys of mid-90s platforming in all of the right ways, combining some fantastic level design with a low-poly visual style that appears to have been taken straight out from a classic PS1 title. This is a game that is so dripping in nostalgia, it becomes difficult to put down. An initial playthrough isn't going to require the longest of gaming sessions, but repeated runs are a must for all the completionists out there. If 3D platforming is your vibe, this is among the top indie titles in the genre. Also, if you're a fan of nostalgia-driven 32 to 64-bit platformers, the Tori games and Cavern of Dreams are also great. And finally, the cheapest game on the list is Downwell, sitting normally at only $2.99 and has been down to as low as just 99 cents. Would you look at that? This is an excellent port of a game that feels like it's found a natural home on Switch thanks to a plethora of control options and the console's natural facility with vertical orientation. Short of popping your 4K TV on its side, Switch offers the very best way to play Downwell. Its roguelike structures and Twitch platforming might not be for everyone, but you should really give it a chance. For our money, it's a modern classic that should be in everyone's collection, and it's only $3.99. What's there to not like? And there you have it. Those were the best cheap games on the Nintendo Switch. If you enjoyed this video, why don't you click that subscribe button? It's quite cheap. Actually, it's completely free. And also, don't forget to check out our website, nintendolife.com, where you can find all sorts of lists such as these, but in written form. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next one. Felix from Nintendo Life, out. Hey everyone, Felix from Nintendo Life here, and today, ooh,